This is the first of 3 short videos reviewing measurement conversion. In this video, we'll focus on U.S. measurement. Common quantities to measure are length, weight, and volume, so we will emphasize those quantities in this video. To start off with, let's look at measurements of length. Common units are inches, feet, yards, and miles. And here we have 3 important conversion factors. There are 12 inches in 1 foot, 3 feet make 1 yard, and there are 5,280 feet in 1 mile. In terms of relative sizes, when we think about inches, inches are used to measure common household items. So for example, standard paper we know is 8.5 by 11 inches. When we talk about feet, we can visualize or understand what a 6-foot tall person would look like. Miles would be used to describe distances traveled, for example, your drive from home to work. We'll do some examples of converting between these units shortly, but let's go ahead and talk about measurements now for weight. Common measurements of weight include ounces, pounds, and tons. Here we have 2 important conversion factors, which are that there are 16 ounces in 1 pound, and there are 2,000 pounds in 1 ton. So we use ounces to measure food quantities. Pounds could be used to measure the weight of a person, and tons would be appropriate for measuring the weight of a car. Last but not least, let's talk about some units for measuring volume. We use ounces or fluid ounces, we often say, to distinguish it from that of weight. Cups, pints, quarts, and gallons. So these are common units you would see if you spend some time in the kitchen. I have 4 conversion factors listed here, and then I'll give you a little shortcut maybe for remembering this. But we have 8 fluid ounces in 1 cup. 2 cups make 1 pint. There are 2 pints in a quart, and there are 4 quarts in a gallon. So again, these are common units for measuring volume. One helpful way to remember these units, the relationship between them, is this idea of gallon man. I would encourage you to Google gallon man to get a nice picture, but I'll try to draw one here for you too. So basically I'm just going to draw a big G for gallon, and then within this gallon I'm going to fit 4 quarts. And again, this is my kind of sad attempt here, so you should Google it. And then within each quart, I need to fit 2 pints. So now I'll put 2 pints within each of my quarts. And then if you can still see what I'm doing here, within each of my pints, I need to put 2 cups. So 2 cups within each of my pints. This is kind of just a nice visual way to remember the relationship between these units, so you can of course take it or leave it, but maybe Google it to see a better example. So now let's just go ahead and see if we can apply what we've talked about, these different units of measurement, and actually do some converting. So I have 3 examples. We're going to do an example of converting length, and then weight, and then volume. Our first one here is converting length. And we're going to use a process called dimensional analysis, which is kind of an intimidating name for a nice, straightforward process. So we'll go ahead and talk through these steps here. We're asked to convert 3,960 feet to miles. And what I've done is I've just captured some of the little facts we talked about earlier. In this case, we can tell, since we're converting feet to miles, the last conversion factor in our list here, the fact that there are 5,280 feet in 1 mile, will be useful. So if I write out what I'm given, 3,960 feet, and I'm just going to put it, make it feel like a fraction, and if I multiply it by my conversion factor that we just talked about, the idea here is that I want to eliminate the unit of feet and introduce the unit of miles. So we can do that by having feet in the numerator and denominator. That would get them to cancel out. Now I just have to make sure I put the appropriate number with each unit. So we know in 1 mile there are 5,280 feet. So I can see now, again, feet canceling out. And this just means I have 3,960 times 1 in the numerator, which is still 3,960. 1 times 5,280 in the denominator. Unit on our answer again here will be miles. And that looks pretty messy, so if you want, divide that out and you should find that this is 0.75 or 3/4 of a mile. So that's an example of converting between units of length. Next, let's take a look at converting with units of weight. Here we're asked to convert 15 tons to pounds, and let's use that same strategy we just saw in the previous example. So I start off with what I'm given, 15 tons. I want to multiply by a conversion factor to eliminate the unit of tons and introduce the desired unit, which in this case is pounds. I've captured what we had on the screen a little bit ago, which was a conversion factor that told us 2,000 pounds make 1 ton. So with pounds I can place my 2,000. That's equivalent to 1 ton, I guess I should say. And if we clean this up, we'll multiply straight across top and bottom. 15 times 2,000 would give us 30,000. The denominator, 1 times 1, is just 1. And the unit of tons have canceled out, and we're left with the unit of pounds. So in this case, we were able to find that 15 tons is equivalent to 30,000 pounds. And last but not least, an example of converting with units of volume. This one's going to be a little bit more challenging because I'm going from ounces all the way to gallons. And if we consider the conversion factors we saw a little bit ago, we had ounces, and then in between we had cups, pints, quarts, and then we had gallons. So I chose this example so that we can see often that conversion process involves using multiple conversion factors. So I'm going to just use the basic facts we were given, and I'm going to write a little small because I know I need to get ounces to cups, then I know I need to get cups to pints, then I need to change pints to quarts, and then I'll change quarts to gallons. So I'm really going to do step by step here. There are ways to shortcut it, but if this is new to you, you might want to do it step by step. So I'm going to first change ounces to cups, then I'll change cups to pints, then I'll change pints to quarts, and last but not least, we can convert quarts to gallons. So using really all these conversion factors down below, I know there are 8 ounces in 1 cup, there are 2 cups in 1 pint, there are 2 pints in 1 quart, and there are 4 quarts in 1 gallon. So lots of units canceling out here. No more ounces, no more cups, no more pints, no more quarts. So in the end we'll just have gallons, which is good because that was the desired unit for our final answer. And in this case it really tells me to, let's see, multiply in the numerators 200 times 1 times 1 times 1 times 1, which is still 200. And then in the denominators we're dividing by 1 times 8 times 2 times 2 times 4. So I'm really dividing there by 128. And again, our unit in the end will be gallons. And let's go ahead and just get a nice decimal approximation here. So 200 divided by 128 will give us 1.5625 gallons. And that means that 200 ounces is equivalent to 1.5625 gallons. So hopefully those make a little sense to you. I'd recommend that you try out the next video, which will talk about metric conversion.